Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Viral Nation. We're going to have a very short show today, but on this show today, we're going to talk a little bit about Atlanta 1, 2, and 3. We're going to talk a little bit about motocross coaches. We're going to talk a little bit about the internet and a little bit more. So check out the Viral Nation.
Wake up at 5 a.m. Gotta be at the track at 10. It's time to ride. All of this anticipation to ride in the Viral Nation.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Viral Nation, episode number 15. Hey, first off, I want to say I apologize. We were not able to get last week's episode done. We had some technical difficulties. We also here at Viral have been absolutely slammed, and I hate to say this, but the podcast actually got to put on the back burner to get some orders done and to try to get this thing, try to get our orders out to our dealers and that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, the Viral Nation took a little bit of a hit, but we are back for this episode. We are going to scale it back. We are going to try to just do 2 shows a month going forward. So the next show won't be for 2 weeks, but we appreciate each and every one of you that tune in and listen to the podcast here at the Viral Nation. Don't forget you can subscribe right here at our YouTube channel, which we really encourage you to do. It helps us. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We got a long way to go, but we truly hope you'll subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Don't forget, you can also find us on Apple Play. You can also find us on Spotify, Pandora, Alexa, you name it. We are on it, and you can listen to the podcast right there in your car if you'd like. In today's episode, we are going to talk a little bit about Atlanta, all 3 rounds of Atlanta. We're going to talk about McAdoo and what a nut that guy is, and in a good way. And we're going to talk about some local racing and some national racing. We've got all the Loretta Lynn area qualifiers have been happening. We've got Viral guys taking all over the place, and we're going to touch briefly on all of them. We're not going to get in depth on any of them, and we are going to make this a quick and short podcast because, again, we are running out of time today with everything we got going on. So first off, let's talk quickly about Atlanta. I'm not going to get in depth into the finishing positions. I think everyone's probably watched the 3 rounds of Atlanta, but I'm going to tell you this. This is, from my standpoint and from racing for as long as I have, this year's Supercross season has been absolutely awesome. You really don't know who's going to win each and every weekend. It is interesting to see that Webb has really kind of become the dominant rider. He's got the points lead. Going into Atlanta 1, he had a pretty good points lead. He had a horrible round at Atlanta 2, but he rebounded obviously in Atlanta 3, and it was just been a lot of fun to watch. The 450 class has been awesome. The talent level across the board, the parity in that class is pretty high. You've got the top 5 or 6 guys. Any one of those guys could win. A couple guys that really stand out right now. Anderson's really been on a tear, and if you guys were watching all 3 rounds, he just got better and better each round. And even with the setbacks, like when he got hit, got landed on by Ray, I mean, the guy got up. Yeah, he kind of lost his mind for a minute, which I probably would have done myself. The adrenaline, all that stuff, thinking that he's being hurt and all that stuff. But he just has been putting down some great rides. And obviously Barsha really consistent. Obviously Barsha's had a couple little hiccups, but the guy he's really done a great job this year, and I'm pretty stoked for Barsha, just for the fact that he has done such a great job. You got Tomac, who you could be disappointed in Tomac because he's the number 1 plate holder and he has moments of brilliance. But, I mean, the class is tough. Coop's raised back up his level. He's not having to deal with injury like he did last year. You have Roxon, who's riding at a great level this year. You got a lot of guys out there that are going really fast. And so Tomac, with his starting issues, I think Tomac would be probably almost unbeatable if he could get starts, but he just doesn't get starts. So to try to start in 8th or 9th place every moto and work your way up is just going to be too difficult at this level. And then you got the Roxon and Cooper Webb battle, and that's just it's kind of cool, but it kind of sad at the same time because I hate to say this, but Kenny is on fire for 90% of the race. And then as soon as Coop gets close to him, he makes just dumb decisions. And I don't know how else to say it, right? He was out at Atlanta 1 or Atlanta 3 leading. He had like a 5 or 6 second lead and he threw it away in the whoops, right? No big deal. Didn't go down hard, but just went down. And I know that throws off your rhythm and stuff. But as soon as Coop, instead of fighting for the lead, he only had a few laps left, right? He decides to go to these outside lines and just leaves the door wide open for Coop to run right up the inside of him. And then instead of banging him back before the whoops, throwing Coop off, just so they could have both gone through the whoops, like kind of raced through the whoops, he just lets Coop by. And I know that he tries, and I know he wants to be the nice guy, but I hate to say this, man, but motocross isn't always about the nice guy. Winning, Cooper doesn't worry about being the nice guy when he's behind Roczen. Roczen worries about being the nice guy when Cooper passes him. And I think that's the part that that he has to overcome for him to become the champion. And I would love to see Kenny Roczen become the champion. The guy is outstanding. He's come back from so much. And even if he never does become the champion, the guy's legacy career from coming back from the injuries he's gone through will never be taken away from him because he has been outstanding. But for him to go that next level would be super cool to see him if he could do that. 250 class has been just a melee of riders through Atlanta. A lot of riders going down again. I'm not sure why so many riders in the 250 class have been going down. But with that being said, McAdoo, we're going to just talk briefly about McAdoo and the controversy that went around him because he did create the red flag. This is what I'm going to say about that. The rules are the rules, and as of right now, from what I gather, there were rules back a while ago that would not allow you to rejoin the race. There aren't rules on the books right at this moment that are allowing you to that did not allow him to rejoin the race, and he didn't ask for the red flag. He didn't stop the race. That was not his choice. His choice was to try to put his head back on his body and figure out what planet he was on, right? And so as McAdoo kind of got himself back together, they had stopped the race, not because of McAdoo. Yes, because of McAdoo, but he didn't stop the race, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. At that point, he can go back to the truck, or he can try to line back up if they'll let him. And the kid showed an amazing amount of heart because I ran a team for a while and I loved all my riders, right? And there's a lot of riders that wouldn't have lined up. I know a lot of riders that wouldn't have lined up. They would have taken their lumps and they would have gone back to the truck and they would have been like, holy hell, right? That was a big get off. I'm glad that I'm standing here right now. And McAdoo didn't do that. He got back on his bike at Atlanta 2 and got himself up and put himself back on the podium. And in Atlanta 1, he did that wicked crash over the tabletop where he got sideways in that kind of muddy conditions. Then he high-sided from the top. I mean, that's a big crash. Comes back from that in Atlanta 2, has a practice crash, but then goes out in the race, has that monster crash in the race, goes out, puts it on the podium. Then he goes to Atlanta 3. He wads up even bigger in practice, gets up, goes out, and then, I mean, it was a tidal wave of crap that landed on that guy. From that first corner crash, which was not his fault. He got pushed wide, got pushed into a hay bale, which kind of rocketed him back. Then he got hit, and then everybody went down. That was a bad deal, and that's not McAdoo's fault. Had nothing to do with him having concussion syndrome or any of those things. And then the crash in the whoops wasn't his fault. I mean, you had Haymaker up front, or Hammaker up front, who made a mistake, slowed everybody down, and he was just coming to the whoops. And when you're on top of the whoops, you can't really deviate your course a whole lot. So you really are kind of stuck. And then to slow down is catastrophic in itself too, because the whoops you got to get on top of them, and that's all momentum. So that wasn't his fault. And then the last crash, obviously, with Marchbanks, which I don't know what that was about, but Marchbanks that was a clean out, right? Marchbanks was mad about something, and decided just to take it all out on McAdoo, which unfortunately for McAdoo was the last thing that he needed, right? Because he just absolutely got crushed by him. So anyways, so that's Atlanta 3. Obviously, you guys know the point situation coming out of that. Cooper and the 250 class is doing really well, and Cooper in the 450 class is doing really well. And so you could see a Cooper championship season for the West Coast guys, so which is pretty cool.
Our 2021 Factory Series Goggle Collection was inspired and designed by Rockstar Energy and 2019 Nitro World Super Hooligan Champion, Andy DeBrino. And he brings his unique design and inspiration along with his all-new Signature Series goggle to Viral Brand for 2021 and beyond. Our engineers used our soft flex frame, 4 layers of face foam, outriggers, and a 50mm strap to give you the most comfortable goggle in the industry. For more information, check out shop.theviralbrand.com or find a dealer near you.
G'day and welcome to Viral Nation episode 15. It's time for your Always Moto injury update. As always, I'm David Hogan, the Australian physiotherapist that is responsible for the best moto injury related content that you haven't yet seen in your social media feed. To keep up to date, follow us. Just search Always Moto in your favorite social media app and then hit the follow button. That's that simple. But now let's jump into those injury updates. So this injury wrap-up is going to be about all 3 Atlanta rounds. We're going to try and capture most of the guys that got injured over those 3 races in one quick update here for Viral Nation. So over the course of the 3 Atlanta rounds, we actually ended up with 2 guys getting airlifted out of the events. Separate events that occurred at. We had Kevin Moran's getting airlifted. He had some trouble to breathe at the time. They were thinking about possible issues with punctured lungs, but it ended up being that he cracked a couple of ribs, bruised the lung, and chipped his scapula. He actually got himself out of hospital basically that night, which was a great sign for him. Under his own pace, he walked out, but he's out for probably a couple of weeks. There may be a chance that he tries to return for one of the Salt Lake cities, but it'll just depend on how he's feeling over the next week to see if he actually is able to return to the racetrack or not, or if he'll just be out until motocross season kicks back in a couple of weeks' time. The other rider that got airlifted out was Chris Blows at Atlanta 3. He was part of that red flag in the 250 main event that was caused when he landed on top of Cameron McAdoo. At the time, there was some concern for Chris's health, obviously, and they airlifted him out. He has since provided an update that he's got a few broken ribs, a broken thumb, but otherwise pretty well. So he's escaped some major injuries there, which is nice, but he will probably be out for the rest of the season, unfortunately, given there's only basically 2 weeks left of the season. So no more Chris Blows on that AG gas bike. We had a privateer rider, Chad Saltz, number 364 on a KTM. He actually at Atlanta 3 had a broken collarbone sustained. He's provided an update that he's trying to get that operated on and plated ASAP, with the aim to get back in time to be able to prepare appropriately for the outdoors. So hopefully he's already having surgery as we speak, and he'll be back probably in that 4-week range if he has that plated done, which has been about the rough time frame for most of those guys that are getting collarbones repaired in that sort of space and getting back on the bike. Kyle Chisholm at Atlanta 2 unfortunately sustained an AC joint separation. Again, that's that one where the collarbone meets your shoulder blade. You end up with this little spiky pop-up point that bounces like a springboard. He separated that shoulder there at that point and missed Atlanta 3. He's indicated to us, we spoke to him briefly during the week, he's trying to get that thing recovered in time for some Salt Lake Supercross rounds. But given we've only got 2 rounds left, depending on the grade of that injury, he's somewhere between a 2 to 4 week recovery period. So he might be pushing it to try and get back for those rounds, but he said he's going to give it a go. Again, we've mentioned this previously with the AC joints because it's come up quite a bit this season. They can be well taped. It's very easy to tape that down over the shoulder and holding that collarbone in place. It's then just around pain and whether the rider can sustain that across the course of the track time that they need to complete for a Supercross. So it's possible that we'll see Kyle Chisholm back before the season's out. Remy Alvarez, number 220 on the JMC Motorsports Husqvarna, during Atlanta 3 practice, dislocated his shoulder. The Alpine Stars medical crew was able to put that back in reasonably quickly and without too much issue. He wasn't sure if he was going to be able to race, but ended up making it all the way through the program into the main event and did reasonably well for his season averages with his finish in that main event there. We've spoken about this previously with shoulders. Some of them dislocate, go out, come back in straight away, no troubles, off you go, keep racing. Others, when they come out, you rip the labrum, and then they need some stabilization procedures, whether that's just some gym work to re-strengthen and stabilize the shoulder, or whether that's surgical work. It all depends on how big the tear is as it comes out. And if there's other associated things that go on, sometimes you can break parts of the cup, or the other parts of the shoulder become an issue as well. And we've seen that with Jeremy Martin with his Orlando 2 incident. He's just basically went the conservative management path and re-strengthened it, and he seems to be back on the bike going okay. So for Remy, as much as it went back in and he rode that night, that main event in the night program, he will still be trying to re-strengthen that shoulder just to make sure it stays stable, because if he doesn't provide some effort into stabilizing that over the next week to 2, he may have a further issue with it dislocating at later events down the track, whether that be the next few ones in Salt Lake City, or it might even be in a month or two's time when he's partway through the outdoor season, which would be a bit of a bummer if it came up again then. So he's going to have to do some work to stabilize that shoulder just to make sure it remains in place and doesn't become an issue further down the track. Mitchell Oldenburg of the Muck Off Honda, number 49, unfortunately was landed on during one of the Atlanta rounds, broke a ring finger on his hand. It's quite swollen. If you check out his Instagram picture, the hand's quite inflamed. It's very well coloured in terms of bruising as well, and he also required some stitches. So more than likely for Mitchell that he's out for the remainder of the Supercross seasons. Chase Marquier, number 92 on a Kawasaki, sustained a broken arm. So he actually broke his ulnar, which is the underside arm bone here, that's on the outside of your hand, and also a metacarpal in a crash at Atlanta 2. And he's going to be out for the remainder of the season, unfortunately for Chase. Across the time of the Atlanta rounds, there was a couple of updates from guys that came out that were indicating that they had some minor injuries that were causing them some grief, and they decided to sit out the remainder of the season in an effort to get recovered, ready for the outdoors. Those 2 guys that we saw were Hardy Munez, who has a knee issue, and Ty Masterpool, who has an ankle issue. The final update we've got for you didn't come from the Atlanta rounds. It's actually a guy that I've been keeping an eye on recently, just with a bit of interest because of his background hype that he's coming in with. It's Caleb Russell, the GNCC champ, that's been coming over to do some outdoors this season with the Red Bull KTM guys. Unfortunately for Caleb, while he was testing at Parlour during this period that the Atlanta rounds were on, he had a bit of a moment and decided to take on offence. He's actually come away with a broken jaw, a bit of a concussion, and unfortunately for Caleb, that's going to see him out for a few weeks. The jaw has actually been required to be wired shut to allow the healing to occur, which is, look, from a point of view of stabilization, that's great, but what happens is that obviously it means that you can't chew your food correctly, so you have to basically go onto a liquid diet. So for Caleb, training probably won't be too much of an issue in terms of being able to do stationary cycling, being able to do gym work, but the fact that he'll have then issues with trying to get the nutrition in place might make his recovery a little bit more difficult. He'll also have a review, because he's got that wired shut, he'll have a review in about that 4 to 6 week range, depending on when they decide that jaw has healed, to have those wires removed. It's a minor procedure, but it's something that will probably also then set him back a little bit. So it's unclear at this stage as whether he'll make that first round of outdoors late May, but we'll have to keep an eye on how those updates progress and whether he's been able to get that wiring out earlier than expected. But I think 4 weeks is going to be the earliest point that that's going to come out for Caleb. So he might just have a little delay to start to his season. It's unfortunate because he's only been able to, that's what he's been preparing for this period, is just the outdoors. But hopefully it works out and he gets on the gate at some point during the season. That's all the injury updates we've got for this week. Viral Nation, as always, we want you using the hashtag injuries are a part of moto on any rider injury update you see on any of the social media platforms. That will link to us and we can then follow up and do further updates on those injuries so you get some more details on what's going on for that rider. Also, we want you to drop some comments in the YouTube section here. If you think we've got something wrong, you think we've missed somebody, you want to see somebody in particular updated on, let us know. We can work that out for the next week's episode. Or hit me up with a DM on Instagram. But that's all we have. Until next episode, thanks for watching, guys.
We had a ton of stuff going on this last couple weeks with the Loretta Lynn's qualifiers. Loretta Lynn qualifiers have been going on, and I got a bunch of riders, bunch of Viral Brand guys that have all got their tickets to the regionals. We're going to have regionals starting here pretty quick up in Washougal, and then they're going to run across the United States. And obviously, we know that's heading towards Loretta Lynn's and the big Loretta Lynn's Amateur National. We want to tell all of the riders, regardless whether they're Viral Brand riders or not, we wish you the best of luck. Making that is a huge honor, and we are excited for each and every one of you guys that make Loretta Lynn's. As for the Viral Brand guys, we're pulling for you guys each and every weekend. So just keep pounding away at it. We're super proud of you. And we are watching each and every day on social, watching your qualifiers, watching your results, watching what you guys post. So make sure that you guys keep tagging us in all of your guys' social posts. That is just absolutely awesome. So we love that. Pacific Northwest has the PRO series and the Pac West series going on up here. Viral riders have been killing it in both classes, or in both series. So we want to thank the Viral riders for doing that. We have been getting top 3-4 finishes in the pro classes. We've been getting intermediate classes. We've been winning a little bit of intermediates and the junior classes and the 80s and the 65s. And so it's been awesome. So you guys don't forget, make sure you tag us. I want to do a shout out to Gate Drop Productions. Those guys out there have been doing a great job with the series. He is out there each and every weekend doing a lot for the series, a lot for keeping people, all these memories that he's creating with all these photos he's doing and the videos that he's doing. He's doing a great job. And then Jesse's Photos, who's always been killing it. He's been around the Northwest scene for a really long time. Jesse has been doing a great job as well. If you guys haven't had a chance, you can check out Gate Drop Productions or Jesse's Photos on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And I would highly recommend, if you're in the Northwest, pay a little bit of money, have those guys shoot you. You'll never regret it. Those are lifelong memories that you will be creating. Last, we're going to talk real quickly about the internet and how crazy people are. And I'm not going to get into too much, but two things that really kept cracking me up, man. You know, motocross is a very dangerous sport. We do this sport for one reason, because it's dangerous, right? We go out there, you line up on a starting gate, you drop the gate. At that point, your parents can't help you. Your wife can't help you. Your brothers can't help you. Your team can't even help you. It's just you and the motorcycle and the track, right? And your competition. And at the end of that race, you're going to have a winner and you're going to have some losers. And that's how it works in racing motocross. And that's what makes this sport so great. You don't get a participation trophy, right? You don't just show up and do well because you have lots of money. That doesn't help, right? It's based on hard work and talent. And even the motorcycle is such a small percentage of the racing, especially at the local level, right? You have guys that can show up on a 4 or 5-year-old bike that are super talented and they'll whoop the crap out of everybody on the track. And so, you know, watching the internet and watch people go crazy, I guess there was an incident in Albany. Somebody got hurt at Albany and everyone started complaining about the track. And I don't say everybody, but a certain number of people. And the problem is that tracks are tracks. There's all of the elements that go into a track are part of the race that you go to, right? And we don't want unsafe tracks. We don't want tracks that are dangerous to hurt people. But tight tracks and tracks with borders that are close, those are just part of racing. And if you're really worried about that section of the track, then you need to slow down in that section. You're at a local race. There's always another race to race, right? And you winning that local race isn't going to make a difference in the big career that you're trying to create, right? Now, you go to an amateur national and you do those kind of things. The AMA regulates how much side space they need. Can they drive a mule down the side of the track? But with that being said, at a local track, you don't have all those rules. But you can slow down and you can be careful. And that one section, I've told my son this when he was growing up. If there's a section on the track that you're struggling with, just slow down in that section, be smooth through it, right? Be consistent, and then race the rest of the track where you're really comfortable. And let me tell you that there's a lot that goes into that as far as race strategy. All right. So make sure that you guys are make sure that when you guys are going to the track, that the track is just part of that, right? It's part of the overall experience that as part as racing, which is the track, your competition, your riders. Those all make motocross one of the best sports that have ever been developed. And it's why it's one of the hardest sports also, because there isn't anybody there to help you. So with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up episode number 15 of the Viral Nation. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in again. I want to thank Always Naked for our intro and outro music. Don't forget, I've talked to you guys about almost for the last 4 or 5 episodes. Don't forget, check out their newest CD. You've got Sex Cells. You can find it in the comment section below. We're not doing a contest this week, so don't worry about that. For the winners of the last contest, congratulations. We are a little slow getting the goggles out to you, but we will get those goggles out to you guys soon. Don't forget, we are taking a couple weeks break, and then we'll be back for episode number 16 in a few weeks. So make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss an episode, and we will try to see you guys as soon as possible. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week, or see you next time on the Viral Nation.
Waking up